This essay explores the social media presence of writer and director James Gunn, the current co-CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery's DC Studios, alongside Peter Safran. Particularly, this looks at how Gunn uses his social media, largely X, commonly referred to as Twitter, to position himself not only as a content creator, but as an influencer for his own brand, and how that could make him an authority figure and opinion leader for the DC fandom. Influencers are online figures who use their status and virtual persona to influence the opinions of people who follow them. Whilst influencers can have a level of expertise in their field, their main strength is their ability to create a sense of authenticity and relatability. Authenticity involves presenting your true self to your audience, creating a sense of trust that can then be exploited for commercial means. However, there is plenty of skepticism around the idea of authenticity, since to many, the authentic is a localized, temporarily situated social construct that varies widely based on community, meaning that what we present as authentic changes to be appealing to our audience. As such, the idea of the true self can be seen as a commodity people like influencers use to improve their brand. Regardless of how true it is, authenticity can create a parasocial relationship between the follower and the influencer, where the followers feel they have a proper relationship with the influencer and are therefore more likely to trust their opinions. This sort of influencer power is often used by content creators trying to promote their products. Stacey Langworth Grau suggests that a modern content creator fits three roles: a creator, an influencer, and an entrepreneur. This means that creatives aren't just responsible for creating a product, but also for promoting it and controlling the way they want it to be seen. In this regard, self-branding is increasingly important for creators to create the public image they want, allowing them to improve their reputation in the field and preserve their creative integrity. To some extent, this means that creators could be seen as opinion leaders for their own products and can employ various influencer tactics to control the perception of their products. Another area we'll be exploring is the idea of online fandom and its impact on the creator fan dynamic. The continuous improvement of the internet has led to radical change in the way we communicate, both in terms of speed and the location of people. This has had a particular impact on fan groups who now largely communicate via interconnected networks and social media. Fan spaces are built on a system of cultural capital. Having more knowledge about the property increases your status. We often see this displayed on social media through accounts sharing news about franchises, whether it's real or simply a rumour, which is why it's important for people to be savvy online and follow the right accounts for trustworthy news. This hasn't only brought fans closer together, but also put them in closer proximity to media creatives. As opposed to the cast or crew being far removed from fans, they are now in a place where fans can attempt to message and interact with them. This ability for fans to frequently interact with celebrities can make them feel like part of the fandom themselves, adding to that perceived connection and parasocial relationship. However, this increased proximity can create conflict for creatives where frustrated fans can send them criticism or even harassment directly to them. Because of this, it's important for creators to have positive interactions with fans to retain their trust and support. To research this topic, I undertook a textual analysis of James Gunn's social media appearances. I primarily looked at his Twitter account @JamesGunn, but I also observed the video Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, posted to the official DC YouTube channel where he discusses his plans for upcoming films. Here I observed how Gunn curates his online persona and the impact this can have both on him and his audience. This process involved analysing Gunn's social media content and examining how it relates to my question. This data, however, is purely qualitative and is largely built upon my own interpretation, meaning that some could argue my results have been affected by my own perception of the content and reject my findings. However, since social media does not exist in a vacuum and is instead built upon interactions with other users, my textual analysis couldn't just observe Gunn's posts alone, but needed to consider the context they exist in. To this end, I employed elements of virtual ethnography into my methodology, which involved looking at the specific comments Gunn is responding to in his posts. By looking at this social media content within the original context, it demonstrates the thoroughness of my research, giving further credibility to this report. Using social media content as evidence brings some controversy with it, since while some argue that this data is in a public space and therefore free to use, the posters have not consented to having their statements used in a research context, and may worry about their identities being exposed. Considering this, I attempted to retain the anonymity of all social media accounts not affiliated with public figures, using the light disguise approach by omitting their account names. Within James Gunn's job as CEO, he's responsible not only for writing and directing his own projects, but also for planning the direction of projects different people will work on, and Gunn seems to use social media to ensure people are aware he's the main driving force at the company. This can be seen in the YouTube video, which consists of him speaking directly to the camera, accompanied by art. By appearing on camera like this, Gunn is being portrayed as an authentic person who can speak to his audience on his own behalf, which also makes him more recognisable as the brand leader, with the lack of anyone else in the video further signifying his authority. This could then suggest to viewers that these films aren't the mandates of corporate executives, but the vision of a well-respected creator, which possess an element of uniqueness and quality that wouldn't otherwise exist. By frequently attaching his face to all this important DC news, Gunn has been creating a strong self-image as the face of DC Studios, helping maintain the impression that he's the main authority figure. We see this with him using his personal Twitter account to verify news about DC films, rather than using the official DC Twitter account. Take for example this tweet confirming the reported casting of his Superman Legacy film. Accurate, they are not only both incredible actors, but also wonderful people. This practice makes it seem as though Gunn's comment is the main seal of approval needed on DC news, even with a one-word confirmation. This thought could suggest that by him publicly attaching himself to his brand and crafting an authentic, charismatic self-image, James Gunn has, like many brand leaders, been a respected authority amongst his audience, allowing him to be the most trusted source of information for these films. Throughout James Gunn's social media presence, we see him employ an influencer tactic to continue displaying himself as an authentic person. There's a level of emotional intimacy in what Gunn composed, as seen with this tweet about his upcoming Superman film. Yes, I'm directing Superman Legacy to be released on July 11th, 2025. My brother Matt told me when he saw the release date he started to cry. I asked him why. He said, "Dude, it's Dad's birthday." I hadn't realised. By being open about his personal connection to the release date of Superman Legacy, Gunn creates sympathy for himself, causing people to see the film not just as a commercial project, but something with genuine sentimental value. As such, audience members may now feel they have a better understanding of James Gunn as a person, with this new level of intimacy and sympathy, strengthening the perceived closeness between fan and creator, and potentially making them more invested in Gunn's work as a result. Furthermore, Gunn takes a unique way of presenting himself as CEO of DC Studios, where he isn't just an executive, but also a member of the fandom. We see this in the YouTube video, where he speaks passionately about comics that are inspiring him whilst displaying art from them, showing a vast knowledge of DC Comics, suggesting he's a strong fan and granting him the cultural capital needed to gain a high position in the fandom. By doing this, Gunn could be demonstrating to fans that he's just like them, adding to this relatable persona. And then there's this deleted post responding to someone criticising the tone of his superhero content. DC isn't one thing. Most of us are comfortable seeing a variety of feels in our comics, films, and shows. The use of us and our is instrumental for showing that James Gunn is trying to create a sense of community where he's not above the fans, but instead on the same level of them. This mixture of emotional intimacy and fandom status helps Gunn build a connection with his audience, where fans feel closer to him and are more likely to support him, as we've seen in the past with content creators like Josh Whedon. With all this in mind, it's important to remember that James Gunn is a businessman who's not only in charge of distributing DC films, but also distributing information about them, and this online persona is an extension of that, where he can control the flow of information about DC films. Within the DC fandom, Gunn's Twitter account is well known for debunking false leaks and rumours surrounding upcoming projects. For example, in a response to a now deleted casting rumour, he responded with, "False. Casting has not begun." This simple response immediately causes people to disbelieve this rumour, and whilst this post is left in text, that arguably tells us more about Gunn's status. It could be suggested that by posting information so often with his face attached, James Gunn has been able to generate enough social capital for people to believe him purely by his name, without further evidence. As such, whilst contradictory, unsourced information online can cause people to struggle with choosing who to believe, influencers like James Gunn can use their well-crafted online personas to maintain the trust of their followers. Taking this idea further, there's this tweet. "I'm getting barraged with bullshit DC rumours this morning. I'll just reiterate the general rule not to believe anything unless it comes from me or Peter." This all serves as a direct example of James Gunn using his position of power and trust to properly dissuade people from listening to other sources of information. It creates the captain of the Raphael's theory of two-step flow, as we can see Gunn's managed to establish himself as one of, if not the, main opinion leaders for DC film. Specifically, Katz highlights the importance of interpersonal relationships and who people choose to believe, and his why Gunn's implements of power is so crucial. By presenting himself with authenticity and openness and fan status, he's allowed fans to feel as though he has their best interests at heart, giving him the ability to make people reject other DC news sources. As a result, James Gunn can reduce the spread of misinformation, protecting the image of DC Studios and his own self-image as a content creator. In conclusion, in an age where the internet can provide free access to information that largely goes unregulated, leading to conflicting opinions and false news, James Gunn has taken advantage of modern social media practices and norms to retain some level of expertise and preserve not only his own image as a media creator, but that of DC as a company. I feel that this study continues to add to research and influencer culture by showing how corporations can benefit directly from using influencer techniques. However, I feel there's still room to expand this topic of James Gunn and social media in the future, such as further exploring the behaviour of his fans and his critics.